Welcome to Under the Hood, from Beyond the Bottom Line. This is where we step inside the company and talk through the real experiences behind the work. In today's episode, Miguel and Ashton discuss the importance of a work-life balance and how the firm incorporates that into one of their core values. Here's Miguel.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Under the Hood. I am joined by none other than Ashton Chanana. Ashton, thanks for being on.
Hey, Miguel.
Well, today we are going to talk about one of our core values, harmony in life, success at work. What does that mean to you, Ashton, or is it just a slogan on the wall?
It means to me, this is probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm so happy here compared to the corporate jobs that I've worked in the past where you're expected to grind, 15 hours a day, be on call on the weekends. That doesn't happen here. It is a space where we can respect each other's time, where we can be empathetic that people have life outside of work. And we really make sure that our headspace is okay when we come into work. If you're working all the time, nonstop grinding all the time, and you don't spend time with friends, family, just sit on the couch and watch TV, it does impact you mentally. So being able to fully show up at work is a byproduct of being able to show up outside of work.
100%. You got to recharge in order to go hard. How do you do that?
Well, everyone here at the company knows, do not message Ashton on a Friday. He will not get back to you, or if he will not be happy that he has to get back. Yeah, I'll pick up your call no matter what. Right.
Well, how do you manage your Fridays?
Yeah, so I'll always start out by just going to the gym, getting a little workout in, get the headspace going, have a nice long breakfast. I'll log on for like an hour or two max, and then I'm going on a bike ride. I live in Southern California, and I have a very nice stretch of beach where it's 8 miles from El Segundo Beach down to Torrance Beach, and then 8 miles back. So I'll do a bike ride on the beach. I'll stop at a couple places, maybe get a beer, maybe get some lunch, maybe some wings. One day I'll come back and I haven't lost a calorie.
The question everyone is wondering, is it really just a beer?
It used to be.
No, I love it because, and I think there's an argument for like a 4-day work week. My wife's going back to work and she just took a contract. She had like 2 offers, and one of them, basically they structured it so she could just work 4 days a week. And I was like, look, you got to take that, because to have a day, especially as a parent, where your kids are in school and you can, just audible that between, errands and, appointments, if that's what needs to happen, or your own taxes. That day's really valuable. You're describing kind of a relaxed day. My wife being my wife is like, nah, it's an errand day. But is that how you see it? Or like, how do you make the most out of that extra day when the kids are at school and you're out?
Yeah, for me, I try to do as little errands as possible. I would rather run errands with my kid because it gets them out of the house and you get something new, changes up the routine. But I'll do an errand here or there. But yeah, for me, it's relaxation. For me, it's also the first time I can really take myself out of the business, and just subconsciously, just naturally, I start thinking about ways that I can improve what I do, thinking about the company, thinking about the direction we're going, thinking about ways that we can increase revenue, things like that. Because, if I'm just responding to emails all day, bouncing in and out of meetings, getting told that you have a podcast to do in 5 minutes, it's hard to really think about ways that you can make things better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say you don't work on Fridays, but I can remember a few times where you've messaged me on a Friday with an idea or like a reflection or like something you're excited about. And I think it goes back to like creating that space is going to fuel work, but you have to have that space, and I think a lot of the times the way that companies look at like energy and hours from employees is like totally just effed. What I mean by that is like, you look at my former employer, like Big Four, they're literally saying the more client hours you work, irrespective of the total numbers in a day, the better you'll be rewarded. So high utilization equals like we're a better employee as a staff, 100%. You got to control for budgets, but look, if you control for budgets and you're highly utilized, you are on the path to success. So the quotient of client hours divided by life hours is structured that your client hours need to be maximized. It's a horrible way to look at it. I think the way that I really do see it is that everybody has an energy P&L. What I mean by that is that if your energy is negative, you're in a loss. Like, your ability to create new ideas and be a pleasure to work with clients or your teammates is statistically, like, probability is going to be pretty low that you're going to be great to work with. I actually do encourage and believe that, like, where we're going now with AI and efficiencies and tools is that you can have energy profit. What I mean by that is that if you can get 40 hours worth of work done in 20 hours, I'm not saying spend the rest of the 20 hours out of the office completely unavailable, but there's nothing wrong with taking an easy day, working on a project that, maybe isn't super urgent, but is going to help the rest of the team. I think that's super valuable. So, like, when we think about, we do still look at utilization, but we have a low utilization target because we're essentially saying the remainder of that time is your time to work on projects, to get learning hours in. And look, I mean, the reality is, if you have a really productive 5-hour workday and then you need to go to an appointment and take care of some things, that's totally worth it. So that's what I mean by profit. Profit is essentially the difference between the time and value. That difference is the energy that you can take. So I really do think, and I want to encourage it more in team, and I want to share it more as an idea that growing your energy profit, that of your team, is a great retention tool. Like you said it, and we've talked before. I'm like, Ashton, why don't you go work at like Google or something? You'll make $1 million. I'm like, man, I don't know that I want that kind of lifestyle, right? Like, that's an example of it being a very effective retention tool.
Oh yeah. I literally got reached out to the other day saying, hey, on target earnings are 270K. I was like, oh, but do I have to work Fridays?
It's worth a lot. It's definitely worth a lot. And I think, in truth, like, I think in the industry, I mean, we're seeing, like, look, we only want 30 chargeable hours a week. A lot of tax firms during the summer have things called Flex Friday, which basically work a half day on Friday. We don't have stuff for you to do. If you want to take that extra that full day off, you can. It just needs to take a little PTO. So I think we're headed there. And especially, I think, with AI, like, I just saw something that, a 4-hour return is now taking like 1 hour. Like, I think it's tempting for firms to think, okay, well, that means that I can 4x my revenue with the same headcount. And maybe that's true, but you can also 2x your revenue and have really happy people. And I think that's far more exciting for me, because ultimately, like, we live to work, or we work to live. And I'd rather be in that second category. And hopefully that's what we're living here at the firm.
Yeah, right before you said the 2x, I was going to be like, we can at least get 2x. Come on now.
Yeah, we can still do more, but, track on for having more time and capacity, whether that's for creative things or whether it's for personal things. I think the future is really bright in terms of what we can do from a people standpoint and a productivity standpoint. The other thing I was going to say is, like, look, the goal of a manager is to manage energy. It really is. Like, if you think about the number of times that people bring us issues, it's, this person's draining me. They're stressing me out. They just gave me documents yesterday, or they posted a really negative Google review. And I think in the old world, my brain went to just, you need to solve the problem. We need to, like, get this done. And it's a different mindset, I think, to think, okay, what I really need to do is, number one, evaluate, does this person stress because they don't know how to handle it, or because they feel like they don't have any time to deal with this? And that's really stressful. If you think you don't have time to really, like, dive in and go deep and solve a client's problem, you've got a different kind of problem that is not going to resolve very well. So all in all, I think being able to have that time and space to recharge, refocus, is going to make you better able to have capacity to solve that problem. So, like, as a manager, what you really want to solve for is, like, hey, do we have space and capacity to deal with the hard things? Sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes that person doesn't have it. And that's where you or I will need to step in and say, all right, hey, we'll take this over. I'll give the client a call, figure out what's really going on, just creating an ability to shift some of the stress, create more energy for that person so they can deal with their day to day. So yeah, energy management is essentially the function of a manager. It's no longer just productivity management. And that's why this value is so important.
It's just when people have personal things that they need to do, whether it's a dentist appointment, whether their kid is sick, whether, anything that can happen, it's so comforting to know that it's approved first than having to seek approval. Like, hey, my daughter just has 102 fever at school. I'm going to have to take the rest of the day off. It's never like, well, you better work tonight then. It's like, hey, go take care of your daughter, just get it done tomorrow type of thing. Even though 9 times out of 10, we'll still do it in the evening just because we want to. But it's just the expectation changes the whole like, oh crap, I work for the man. It's like, oh no, I work for a good company that cares about me.
Yeah. And I'll start by saying, like, on the flip side, like, we'll grade people who don't prioritize family or who we notice are having a big energy deficit. We grade people on their performance reviews on this. And there's been situations where I've said, look, you really need to build a practice around recharging. Can't all be about work, because we've got other people who are watching you, and we need to set the standard that we work hard, but that we're able to work hard because we also work hard on maintaining peace and harmony in our personal life. And for you, that also means basketball on Tuesdays, right? We didn't talk about that, but you've talked about it, that just coming back from something like that, you feel like you're so recharged that you're willing to give. And for me, a lot of the times, disconnecting completely and not responding to anything, even though it is stressful to come back like I am today with a big amount of email, some tasks that needs, I feel like I've got capacity to do it because I took that time. So it's really important that we continue that and keep people feeling that their wellness is their responsibility and it's an important priority that they get graded on here at the company.
Amen.